There's something special about being a fan. It's an indescribable feeling getting to tell your friends that your team is better than theirs. However, a lot of decision making goes into which team you're going to root for. Some of us like to carry down our family traditions and go for the teams that our parents go for. Others of us choose our own teams. We see moments of glory immortalized by legendary players, and that's the team we follow for the rest of our lives. But whoever you go for, keep these things in mind. Number 1, wear your team's colors. Number 2, cheer for your team. Number 3, will them to victory, because they need you in their biggest moments so that they can win the game. Okay, that's probably not how it actually goes, but, get some gear. It'll look cool. Episode 6 coming up now. All right, here we go. Episode 6. Welcome, everybody, to the Circus Catch. I am your host, Jordan Wright. And before we get too far into these divisional round matchups, I do have a story to tell you guys. Pay close attention and see if you can learn anything from this. A man just entered a new relationship. His previous relationship was a long and fruitful one, but the partner had moved on for someone younger. Feeling spurned, this man wanted to begin a new relationship, and rather quickly. When he did find a partner, this man thought to himself, there are more attractive partners out there, partners with more money, partners that would suit his lifestyle needs, but this would be a good intermediary in the meantime. Now, it wasn't sexy, but it was safe. As far as the relationship went, it was okay. He put forth effort, they put forth effort, but he knew, at least in his mind, that he could do better. About a year later, he called it quits and decided it was time to move on. When he did, he made it clear that it was all about the money. He wanted to guarantee that he got exactly what he wanted. He met someone new on the West Coast and immediately proposed a long-term relationship. Having reservations, this new one expressed some concerns about getting into something so quickly, without getting to truly know him first. And let me tell you something, he was not okay with it. In fact, that very night, he began to talk to yet another suitor, this time on the East Coast. This one started out the same way, immediately proposing a long-term relationship. This newest partner agreed, and things did go well for a couple weeks. But it wasn't long before this new one also figured out, something's not right here. Once again, the man did not like the fact that someone was dragging their feet. Having exhausted all of his options, he returned to the so-called boring partner. It wasn't healthy, but it was familiar, and they welcomed him back with open arms, where he said, and I quote, I couldn't be more grateful. This codependent relationship is still going on to this day. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have just described to you the legacy of Carlos Correa exactly as it happened this off-season. Go ahead, rewind it back, give a listen, tell me I'm wrong. And with that, we welcome in Jesse Larson. Jesse, thank you for bearing with me on that Carlos Correa story, and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jordan. That is a surprisingly accurate description of Carlos's tumultuous offseason. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. Very, very codependent. If I had one word to describe it, codependent.
Absolutely.
All right, so we've got a lot to get into. Obviously, the wildest of wild card matchups this weekend. Before we get into that, though, I did want to delve into something that we are going to be talking about. Seems like the last couple years we've had this crazy quarterback carousel in the NFL, and this year's no exception. First of all, I do want to start with Derek Carr. So, Derek Carr, as you all know by now, I'm sure, was released by the Las Vegas Raiders, or will be released or traded by the Las Vegas Raiders, I should say. He did post in a statement on Twitter that it is especially hard to say goodbye because I can honestly say that I gave you everything I had every single day, in season and in the off season. It certainly wasn't perfect, but I hope that I was able to leave you with more than a few great memories as Raiders fans. Quote from Derek Carr. Now, I think the Raiders are making a huge mistake. I think that Derek Carr is possibly the best quarterback in Raiders franchise history. And if you don't believe me because he has a losing record, well, take a look at this. During Derek Carr's tenure with the Raiders, both the Oakland and Las Vegas versions, Derek Carr's defense over that 9-year stretch, out of 32 NFL teams, has ranked 32nd. They have not given him a shot. They've given him the worst defense. And to prove that he has been able to overcome that, Jesse, he has more fourth quarter comebacks in that time than any other quarterback in the league. Now, Derek Carr is one of 5 quarterbacks in his first 8 seasons to reach 30,000 passing yards. One of 5. The other people on that list, Matthew Stafford, Dan Marino, Matt Ryan, Peyton Manning. Now, Jesse, after hearing all of that, do you think that it was in the Raiders' best interest to move on from Derek Carr?
Absolutely not. Because, like you said, the worst defenses in the league for years and years, just over and over and over again. This man is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, I think, and he's just not given a chance to put it on the best stage because he's having to come from behind every time. I mean, look at what they did on offense. He had Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs were dominant this year. Let's be real here. And the Raiders still couldn't muster anything up in that division. Granted, Kansas City's a formidable foe in that division, but still, I mean, it's pretty sad that the Raiders are just going to kind of let this kind of go and let Carr walk away so easy. And, I mean, who knows? Maybe they can end up getting CJ Stroud or something in the draft. That still doesn't solve their problem on defense. So I this is a huge mistake on Las Vegas's part.
I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't being a homer because, Fresno State, Derek Carr.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense that, you think of it in Carr's perspective. He came into the league. His senior season at Fresno State was electric.
Oh, yeah.
And came into the league right out of the chute, had success, and kept having success, but kept having terrible, terrible defenses. And the Raiders never gave him a shot, never gave him help on the other side of the football. And you're not going to have success when you have that, unless you're Tom Brady. But I mean, even Tom Brady couldn't get help from his defense last night. So, look at that.
Probably the quarterback who was asked to overcome the most adversity, at least on the field, I would say. Definitely some off the field stuff. You think about the John Gruden situation. You think about the Henry Ruggs situation. So the leadership that he has shown and stuck with this team through all of that, I can't believe that they're doing him like this. I really can't. I know that it's probably not the best fit with McDaniels, but this was not Derek Carr's fault. I'm going to throw a couple other numbers out there just because I really hate this move by the Raiders. Let's exclude Derek Carr's rookie season. These are actually some numbers that Colin Cowherd posted last night. Excluding the rookie season, he's averaging in his career 25 pass touchdowns to 11 interceptions, 4,000 pass yards, a 93.8 passer rating, a 65% completion percentage. Jesse, what are they doing?
I'm going to be honest with you, Jordan. I think this is just a career move for Derek Carr. Just get the hell out of Las Vegas and go find success somewhere else because you're better off. Get out of there. Get out of that dumpster fire of a front office, for lack of a better term, and, find some success somewhere else and be happy.
This is a team that has not drafted well during his entire tenure. They always they pick the guys who they say are diamonds in the rough, and they don't work out. Look at Alex Leatherwood. Where the hell is he right now?
Yeah, and 3 bugs.
Well, I mean that was kind of out of his control, but that's just the Raider way, it seems. I will say this, and forgive me because I'm trying to throw any kind of bias out the window, so I'm sorry to you as a Bills fan. But I think the perfect fit for Carr would be on the New York Jets. Think about it. This year, they had the 4th-ranked defense. 4th. And they have all these young guys. They have Quinnen Williams, who's still relatively young. CJ Mosley, relatively young. Obviously, Sauce Gardner, who may be the most dominant corner in the league as a rookie. You look at his weapons on offense. He has some good up and coming weapons as well. Brees Hall, who we've talked about on the show, Garrett Wilson as well. This is a team that's going to be stacked going forward. Zach Wilson was the weakness on this team. And I do love Mike White, but he's not the answer. You get an elite guy, and I did say elite on purpose. You get an elite guy like Derek Carr in that system, look out next year. The Jets could be dangerous.
Well, Jordan, I wasn't around when the Bills beat the Oilers, coming down 32 points in the playoff, in the largest playoff comeback of all time. But I was around Saturday when the Jacksonville Jaguars came back and somehow beat the Chargers from being down 27 points on Saturday. And they're going to go up against the top seeded Kansas City Chiefs this Saturday. And, we're going to talk about how Trevor Lawrence came back from throwing 4 interceptions in the first half to throwing for nearly 300 yards in the second half to get his team in position to come back and win that game. What do you see the chance of the Jags getting behind early against Mahomes and the Chiefs?
I don't know if I can quantify exactly what kind of chance the Jaguars have, other than it's a negative percentage.
Yeah.
And E is going to be pissed at both of us for saying this, but I don't think the Jags stand a chance. I really don't.
Not if they play like they did at all again on Saturday, and especially the first half. I think it's going to get ugly, and it's going to get ugly real quick. But the perseverance that Lawrence and company showed to stay with it Saturday night, everything kept on dogpiling, and it just kept getting worse and worse, and they never quit. They never quit, and they brought it back, and they won it. And like we've talked about before, I don't really like to harp on the refs, but man, it felt like the refs were really trying to help the Chargers out in this game, and Jacksonville still pulled it out and overcame the obstacles that were in their way to get
Absolutely.
it done.
Yeah. From what I did see, there were some very suspect calls, and you know me, I'm also the kind of guy that hates harping on the refs. But I think there were some pretty blatant miscalls that helped the Chargers kind of gain that 27-point advantage right from the get-go. I think it was pretty obvious. I think since we both saw it, I think a lot of people saw it, and they would probably say the same thing unless they're a Chargers fan. But yeah, I mean, the Chargers and Chiefs, to your point, these are two very different teams. The Chargers have a lot to be desired on offense, especially as far as coaching goes. By the way, offensive coordinator Lombardi is out as of Monday, or as of Tuesday, I should say. He is out as offensive coordinator. In this game coming up, yeah, you do like how Jacksonville came back, how they had that dog in them. They are in a rebuild right now with a first-year head coach. Let's not get that twisted. Even though they're playing great right now, they are still in a rebuild. I think this team is going to be very good for a very long time. They have that kind of potential as long as they keep trending in the way that they're trending. You're going up against the Chiefs. This may possibly be the best roster in the NFL. This team has been so good for so long. Andy Reid, the Chiefs coach, famously amazing coming off bye weeks. His record is 27-4, including the playoffs. Mahomes is a cheat code. Regardless of how you want to look at it, he is a cheat code. He's the Tecmo Super Bowl Bo Jackson of real life. Bo Jackson of real life. At home in the playoffs, Patrick Mahomes is 8-2. He has a 77.7 QBR. He's thrown for 5,250 yards this season. He is literally 3 end zones shy of throwing for 3 miles this year. He has 41 touchdowns this year. So the 77.7 QBR, the 5,250 yards, the 41 touchdowns, guess what? Those are all ranked first in the league.
I have a pretty confident pick here. I'm looking Kansas City 35, Jacksonville 20. What do you got?
That's eerily similar to my score. I don't think lightning strikes twice for Duval. I'm going to say Chiefs 34, Jaguars 22 in this one.
Okay, 22. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. I like one of these teams always has like a weird number that doesn't make a lot of football sense, so you got to throw that in there. 34 makes sense. That's 4 touchdowns, 2 field goals. 22 doesn't make a ton of sense, but maybe late they go for 2. I
Four touchdown or
maybe
five
there's a
touchdowns
safety in there
and
somewhere. Who
yeah,
knows?
safety or something.
Jesse, last week I had talked about how the Minnesota New York Giants game would be an opportunity for this winner to really shore up their lineup because neither of these teams finished the season in a way that they're capable of. Obviously, the loser had to go home, but the winner had to move on, so they needed to show a strong outing, and that's exactly what the New York Giants did. They shored up that offense during an elimination game. The defense played well enough to move on. Daniel Jones in this game, my God, Jesse. Daniel Jones, 301 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 68.6 completion percentage. You can't ask for better than that. But here's the thing that stood out to me and the rest of America. He had 78 rushing yards in this game. This is a man who needs to be considered an elite running threat. And this is already a team that has Saquon Barkley. This team is going to be dangerous if you don't prepare the right way for them. By the way, before I move on to you real quick, I want to tell you a little stat of the game that I found extremely interesting. Daniel Jones outrushed Dalvin Cook by 18 yards.
And you doubted him last weekend on the show. Don't forget that.
Oh yeah, thanks for reminding me. But yeah, I saw a different Giants team out there this week than what I had seen previously. I think there was some merit to what I said, but the Giants were able to get back to the ways that they had been playing when they were really impressing earlier this year.
I got to give credit to Brian Daboll, man. He was lit up on some of those officials for some of the calls that were not going his way. He was really fired up, just getting after his team too when they weren't playing right. So man, kudos to Brian Daboll, former Bills offensive coordinator. So if Philadelphia doesn't watch out, granted, they did some numbers on the Giants in the 2 regular season meetings this season though.
Yeah, absolutely. The Eagles, they're the number 1 seed for a reason. Their offensive line is far superior to the Vikings, so you can't attack this Eagles team the same way if you're the Giants. Just real quick, yeah, Brian Daboll, Coach of the Year, in my opinion. The only person I could see him even potentially losing to would be Dan Campbell. But even then, Brian Daboll's the favorite, I would say. So going into this game against the Eagles, against a team that you've already played twice, you have to take a totally different perspective and a different scheme than you did with the Vikings. It's 2 very different styles of offense. The question for me, Jesse, is how is Hurts going to fare? Because he did get back and get some playing time in that Week 18 game, and then it was right back to resting. So do you think extra rest will be a good thing or a bad thing for him this week?
And that's where this is where my prediction is kind of going to show itself. The Eagles, I think this hurts them a little bit. I think it's going to benefit the Giants the way they were able to outmuscle Minnesota. The extra rest, I think, hurts Philadelphia a little bit. When they are under pressure, they crumble a little bit. And I think if the Giants can punch them in the mouth early, then this game is going to go down to the wire. And we've talked about it all episode last week. It is so hard to beat a team 3 times.
Let's get that prediction then. What are you saying?
I think the Giants are going to pull this one out. I think it's going to be a great game. It's going to go down to the wire, but I think the Giants pull this one out. It's going to be 20-17. Giants getting it done in Philadelphia
against the number 1 seeded Eagles.
Yes.
Oh, okay, Jesse. Let me tell you something. I don't like the I like that you're 6-0 and that you haven't lost yet. But I don't like the fact that we're both taking the upset in this one. That scares me.
Okay.
So, kind of for the same reasons that you're given right now, it's another one of those games that on paper, the Eagles should handle the Giants easily. But as we saw last year, again, with both number one seeds, the bye week does not always help. And I think with a team who was trying to regroup and reform, only getting that 1 weekend and not even a week that they went full force, and then taking a break from it, I think that is going to hurt Philadelphia. It's not always going to help. And I think this week it hurts. And it allowed the Giants to stay in rhythm, to get into their rhythm that they had been used to. And man, they found it last game. I think that the Giants are going to upset the Eagles this week, 28-25. Damn, we should have talked about this before, because I would have. That's wild that we both picked that upset. We're going to both look foolish if the Eagles come out and dominate. But hey, it is what it is.
Jordan, I have to emphasize too, though. I think the biggest issue though for the Giants is if they do not come out and punch Philadelphia in the mouth early, and Philadelphia gets a couple scores on them, it's over. Philadelphia's going to run away with it, and that's it. But if the Giants can keep it close early and score and get in the trenches, keep it close, this game's going to go down to the wire, and they're going to be able to pull it out at the end. But they have to be able to come out of the gates running. They have to.
Hey sports fans, are you your team's biggest fanatic? I'm giving you a chance to prove it. In my possession, I have this $100 gift card to Number One Sports Fan, and I need you to show me why you have what it takes to be called your team's biggest fanatic. To win the $100 gift card, here's all I need you to do. Like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Share our page and tag us on at least one of those platforms. Feel free to let others know that you're in a contest. Upload a video to YouTube, 30 seconds to 2 minutes long, explaining why you are your team's biggest fanatic. Go crazy with it. The more creative, the better. Copy the link to your YouTube video and send it to thecircuscatch@gmail.com. Video submissions are due by Friday, January 27th. The winning video will be featured on the show Wednesday, February 1st. There is no entry fee for this contest. We just want to thank you for your continued support and wish good luck to all of you. We've got more divisional round games to cover. Let's get back to the podcast.
Well, Jordan, we didn't get to see this one in week 17 for the obvious reasons of what happened on the field in Cincinnati. But now, in Buffalo, next weekend, next Sunday afternoon, we will get the rematch, or the matchup, that we so rightfully deserve. Josh Allen, the Bills, they really struggled against Miami on Sunday. But Cincinnati struggled to put away the Ravens as well. So, Jordan, tit for tat, both teams definitely have things to work on when it comes to this matchup in the divisional round.
Yeah, I don't trust either of these teams right now.
Yeah.
They haven't given me a reason to trust them. Just to put all that aside for a second, I know we talked about this a little bit last week, but it didn't make the show due to editing reasons, trying to get the time down. First and foremost, we are grateful that Damar Hamlin is doing well. He's recovering well. He's actually talking to his Bills teammates. He came to the facility. So great for him. That's amazing. We love Damar Hamlin. The whole nation, and even the whole football world in general really rallied around him and did some good in the world. This is the game that matters. Week 17, throw that out the window. We're in the divisional matchup. You have to earn the right to move on regardless of where it's played. It's in Buffalo. It is going to give them a slight advantage. But at the end of the day, Buffalo did have a better record than them. Now,
Jordan, sorry to interrupt you, but Buffalo did just play a South Florida team at home in 20-degree weather and nearly let it slip away. So I really don't think it's going to see much of a home field advantage. And I'm a Bills fan. I don't know if you can tell right now, but they just played.
What?
This team did not play well at home on Sunday. They really did not. And Miami punched them in the face and almost walked out of Orchard Park with a victory. So, I see the animosity from Cincinnati fans wanting this game to be in Cincinnati because Week 17's game was there. But yeah, we do have the better record. It's at our place. Show us what you're made of. Beat us on the road. Like that's kind of how I view it.
Yeah.
But we saw on Sunday, the Bills are definitely beatable at home.
Yeah, no, you're fine, but you're also like what does that point matter if the Bengals are doing the same thing? They're giving up games at home. So it's kind of one of those things, like you said, tit for tat. Like neither of these teams are playing particularly well at home. So if you go on the road, it is going to be advantage for the home team. Like, it just is. The Bills did struggle mightily against the Miami Dolphins, and that's the third time they've played them. They somehow came away 2 victories to 1 loss against them. But Miami realistically did outplay them pretty much every game. The Bengals, on the other hand, they got lucky in a different way. It was a 14-point swing where Huntley was putting the ball over the end zone line. He almost got there and it got knocked out. Little bit of a miscue from Huntley. You're taught as a quarterback to bring that ball back after just a second of pulling it over. You don't leave it out there to get knocked out. And if it wasn't for that return all the way back for a touchdown, guess what? Baltimore would be playing in this round, not Cincinnati. So I just don't trust either of these teams right now. The Bills are too reliant on big plays to me. They're not playing fundamental football. But in my opinion, I think the Bengals are more hobbled right now than the Bills are. I think it's going to be an extremely close game. But when you have La'el Collins go down for his ACL, you have Alex Kappa who's out. He injured his ankle in week 18. And now you have your left tackle gone, Jonah Williams. They're not 100% sure what it is, but they're saying maybe dislocated kneecap. That doesn't bode well for a return on Sunday in Buffalo. I got to give the Bills a slight edge in this one. My prediction for this one, Jesse, is going to be Bills edge the Bengals 24-23.
Okay, that's a little bit lower of a score than I have. I do see it getting into the 30s, just like our game Sunday did. But I do pull for my boys here, 38-33, getting it done. I don't have a lot of confidence in our defense right now. I think our offense can get rolling again and keep that momentum, but I'm looking at our suspect defense a little bit, and it's got me questioning. Even though we've got playmakers on defense and we've got the potential, I haven't played to that potential. So, but Bills Mafia all the way, going to the AFC Championship, 38-33.
All right, so we're both predicting a Bills-Chiefs AFC Championship in the city of Atlanta. Last game of the weekend, probably the most anticipated game this weekend. We're looking at the Dallas Cowboys. We're looking at the San Francisco 49ers. And I love this matchup in particular because we may be seeing a reignition of an old rivalry. It got a little chippy last year. It's going to be very chippy this year. I can't wait to see this one, Jesse.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for this one as well. And I mean, Dallas played really well last night or Monday night. They really did. So I'm really anticipating the second half that San Francisco had the other night, the Monday night game that Dallas had, those two type clashing. And man, it's going to be one heck of a divisional finale that we're going to see come Sunday evening.
Yeah, I really do think they saved the best game for last on this one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just going back to that wild card round real quick. The 49ers, they did make some mistakes early. They allowed Seattle to kind of hang around. But man, in the second half, they kept their foot on the throttle. They just barreled down. It seemed like every play, Purdy was throwing it for huge chunks down the field. McCaffrey always had open lanes. Debo was slipping tackles left and right. You have the best defense in the league for the San Francisco side. So they really showed up and showed out in that second half and showed why they are the cream of the crop in the NFC West and possibly the NFC. And then, in that Cowboys game, like we saw, they didn't finish this season particularly well, and I had some doubts, and I still have some doubts about Dak Prescott. But they came into Tampa and they dominated from start to finish. There was no chance for Tom Brady and the Buccaneers to even get a slight edge in this game. Dallas completely had the game in their control.
I
Uh,
mean, the only real thing that went wrong for Dallas last night was the special teams. I mean, Brett Maher missing 4 extra
oh,
points.
poor guy.
He's made 9 plus 50 plus yard field goals this year. Had only missed, I think, 3 extra points all season long. He misses 4 in 1 game. It was just shocking to me seeing that. But you're right, Jordan. Just defensively, I mean, Tampa Bay does not have a good offensive line, but like we talked about last week, you got a little bit of pressure in Brady's face and he crumbles. And that showed last night. They
Mhm.
were pressuring his face all night long. His throws were sailing or in the ground. And then on offense, Prescott had all day to throw, and they were getting chunk yardage all night long.
Let's talk about Brock Purdy. It seems like we're talking about him every week, but just to instead of looking at Brock Purdy as, oh, he took over the 49ers and they're undefeated since he took over. Yeah, that's true. Let's get into the numbers, though. He has 16 touchdowns and 2 interceptions since taking over as the starter. Dak, for reference, 27 touchdowns, including the Monday night game, and 15 interceptions. If you don't count that game, 23-15. So both of these teams are extremely talented. I don't think there is a hole in San Francisco's team, though. The hole that we were talking about was the quarterback position, and Purdy is letting us know that's not really a hole in their system at all. I don't see a weakness in this Niners team right now. From coaching down to special teams, I see nothing that the Cowboys can do in this one to make it particularly close. This is the kind of matchup that you would love to see in the NFC Championship, but the way that seeding goes, it is the divisional round this year. So, I mean, obviously the Cowboys have such a great roster that I will give them a shot. But my prediction for this week, Dallas, who has been nearly an unstoppable force when fully healthy and fully engaged, they meet, as to quote John Madden, it's an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object, and the immovable object wins this one. So they run into the immovable object that is San Francisco. 49ers take this one 41-30.
High scoring game, Jordan. Nice. I have a similar high score, and I think it's a lot closer than that. I have a 1 point game in this one actually, because we did see the weakness that you're referring to though in San Francisco. Seattle showed in that first half how to attack that San Francisco defense, and they did pretty well too. And then San Francisco beat themselves there in the final few minutes of the second quarter, and it was like kind of a trickle effect where they kind of, you know, they got in their own heads, and it just kind of compounded, and Seattle was actually able to take advantage and take the lead into the second half. And then coaching of San Francisco, you look at that great coaching that they have. That halftime speech, I don't know what what was said in that locker room, but they came out and went guns blazing at Seattle in the second half. But back to my prediction. 35-34 San Francisco.
You face a team 3 times, they're going to know you better than anyone else. So that's why I think San Francisco struggled a little bit and then came out and just dominated. So that's the way I see it going. But we both have San Francisco winning, so we both have an NFC championship of the 49ers hosting the New York Football Giants.
We cannot end the show without talking about Georgia offensive lineman Devin Willock and University of Georgia assistant Chandler LaCroix. Just hours after celebrating Georgia's emphatic national championship, their back-to-back national championships, these two young and vibrant youth were taken from our earth, killed in a car crash in Athens at about 3 a.m. Sunday morning. Now, 2 other Georgia players were also injured in the crash, but Willock, 20 years old, and LaCroix, a University of Georgia football assistant, 24 years old, were killed There's not a whole lot of details surrounding the crash available, but just I don't know, Jordan. I'm at a loss for words for it. It just going from celebrating an emphatic, dominant performance in a national championship to the university having to share this with their community. It's a profound loss, and I just wanted to touch on it for a little bit, and before we went off the air, and I think it's a tragic loss for the University of Georgia and the football community.
It's a pretty fragile thing life is, and you never know when you're gonna have it turn from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows. Take every moment that you have and cherish it. You never know when you're gonna get it back. Make every moment count. Celebrate when it's time to celebrate. Mourn when it's time to mourn. Don't mourn for too long, though. Celebrate the fact that you had these people in your lives and that they were able to accomplish great things with you. Tragic, and we do feel we feel for the community of the University of Georgia, for the families of the people involved, and continue to keep those people in your thoughts and prayers as we move forward from this tragic event that happened shortly after the championship victory. That'll do it for us here at the Circus Catch. Remember, send those videos in to our Gmail. Make sure you keep them PG-13. Don't use copyrighted music because the winner will be played on the podcast. And we won't be able to play the audio if you use copyrighted music. So find a website, find something. That's how I do it. I just look around. I find sites that have non-copyrighted music. Send them in. I'm not going to be the judge. Jesse's going to be the judge. So make sure you cater to him specifically.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll see you next week. Jesse, we'll see you in a couple weeks. Have a good week off. And we'll talk Super Bowl when you come back.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. Peace out.